Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest crypto community in all the interwebs. My name is TJ, and I'll be your host for today's episode of Around the Blockchain. Every weekday, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we come to you live to discuss the trending crypto topics of the day, as well as answer some of your most asked questions. We got a really good show lined up for you today with some really good guests. We've got Hashoshi back with us today. He's going to be joining us to talk about DeFi, Cardano, and a lot of those types of things. Another crowd favorite, Crypto Jeb, back, one of the fastest talkers. We've told him he needs to breathe. He's going to take a little breath today. And Blockchain Boy, speaking of taking a breath, he's under a little bit of heat. Got some fire coming after him on TikTok. XRP Army, not his biggest fan right now, but we're going to get into that. We're going to get into a really good show today, talk about a lot of different ideas and opinions. And, of course, as always, Ben Armstrong. So we're going to be talking today about, is the bull run back on? Is the dip over? We've got Kathy Woods with ARK Invest going for another Bitcoin ETF. Is this just going to be the same story we've seen in the past with just delay after delay after delay? Or is this something that's really actually going to happen and something that's going to have an impact on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as we move forward? As well as the other extreme, from centralized Bitcoin and Bitcoin products with the old traditional system all the way to DeFi and the top 5 DeFi gems and what we're going to be expecting for the next DeFi summer as we move forward into July and August. So we're going to be getting into all that today, but first let's do a really quick market update. We've got things moving in a positive direction. Bitcoin on the uptick. We've got it's up about 6% right now, I think, coming in at around 36.2, so it's been up pretty much all day, kind of stair-stepping over the weekend. We've got some altcoins. Ethereum Classic had a major pump today, as well as eGold, Elrond had a really big pump. So, Jeb, real quick, what is it you're looking at on the charts for a market update? What's got your attention today?
Yeah, so guys, as you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of the cryptocurrency space have been trading sideways for the last couple of months, the last 6 weeks or so, and they've been a little boring. Just going to be honest. I think everybody can agree. We wanted to see some price action. We finally have. We have seen over the last 2 days that Bitcoin and Ethereum and many other major cryptocurrency projects that you guys are interested in have moved to the upside a little over 10%, depending on what you're looking at. Right now, there's a few things I'm looking at on the charts for Bitcoin in particular. We are seeing a cup and handle formation show up on Bitcoin, which is a formation where you see a big dip followed by a smaller dip, generally followed by a blast off. Right now, that has a price target up closer to $40,000, which actually corresponds with a couple of major tops that we saw earlier on this month and late last month in May. We saw some major resistance set at $40,000, and it's a major psychological level. Also, right now, for all my analysts out there, down on the 1 hourly chart, Bitcoin is in a rising wedge, which actually indicates that we should be going to the downside, even though many formations are saying we should go to the upside, such as bullish MACD cross is what gives. What I think is about to happen here is we're probably going to see a small correction from where we are right now, around $36,300, followed by a very strong attempt to break $37,000 and rally up towards that $40,000 region. That's what I'm looking at. I would love to hear what you say, TJ.
Yeah, well, that's actually going to lead us right into this next discussion about the bull run. But real quick, before I forget, I always throw it to you and forget to mention, if you guys are new to the show here, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner the score box is there. If you guys like what you're hearing from any of the guests, drop a +1 in the chat. I'll know to give them an extra point. If you want to take any points away, put a -1. And also, the links are in the description to all of these channels here. So if you like what you're hearing from any of these guests, please go down to the description, follow that link, check out their channel. They've got really, really good insights to share. So, Ben, we've heard some in the past, sell in May, walk away. But are we getting to the point now where it's buy in July, it's going high?
Whoa, buy in July, it's going high.
Yeah.
I like to call this, I've been liking to call this Bitcoin do or die July.
Okay.
That's my little rhyming phrase, my slogan for this month. Like, it's time. What did you know we did a video on that with a thumbnail, TJ?
Yeah.
Did you know I came up with that over the weekend?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Were you not watching my videos?
You worked very hard on that.
Yeah, very creative. Hardest working channel in crypto.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think that July is going to be big. I've been telling people for about 3 weeks now that I'm here in the middle of July is when things will get very bullish. And so if you think about it, we really do, what Crypto Jab is talking about, we could see, which is we do get a correction. I think we'll go a little bit higher first. I think we'll get maybe to 37, 38, then maybe have a drop back down, maybe up to 39 even. And then maybe we'll see it drop back down to 35 and then push back up above 40. I think towards the middle of this month, I think we will be back above 40,000. testing 42. We got to get above 42K. The bulls are back in town, baby. Let's get it. The institutions, the hedge funds, they're trying to wave that red flag, so we miss it. But we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it hard. We're going to be moving up this month. I'm excited about July. I think August is going to be – I think we're going to look back at August as really the month of this entire bull run. So, Joel, because when we look at September, we'll probably continue upwards. But, towards the end of September, if the futures contracts close September 25th, I think that might be, where we, have a big wick to the upside. I think the best month of this entire bull run is going to be August.
There you go. Well, and that actually, Histoshi, that's what I was going to ask you regarding the price action here. We've seen a lot of whales doing a lot of accumulating. We've looked at a lot of Glassnode data that kind of shows different charts. We've got whales with between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoin. I think they've increased, it looks like 90,000 Bitcoin just over the last month. So over these last few weeks when we've been ranging a little bit and seeing this downward action, we've seen massive accumulation from big wallets here. And as Jeb kind of mentioned, the charts are showing kind of mixed signals. Some things showing a divergence to the upside, some things showing we could see some more downward action. So the question is, how quickly do you think we're going to start to see our way climbing out of this, or do you think there's still more room to the downside? Like, do you think 28 was truly the bottom, or do you think we've got a couple more months of bearish action before we start trending back up to the upside again?
Yeah, and I think it's really impossible for us to say exactly what's going to happen, but I do think personally that 28 was the bottom. I think that it was like hit after hit after hit. We're talking bad news, bad technicals, bad sentiment across the board, and we were still in that upper 20K region. I feel like in my gut that was the bottom. And of course, you start to hear all the people saying Bitcoin is dead, crypto is dead. And that's generally when you get to the point where you're at that all-time low of sentiment and you can start to rebuild from there. But you also look at kind of where we are now, and we're coming out of all of this bad news and all of this negativity, and you start to see these positive jumps in price again. I think you're going to see resistance that comes from people that bought the top, rode it all the way down to 28, and now we're a little skittish and won out. And that's on the retail side, that's smaller investors, but the whales have been accumulating. They'll take the little bites as it goes back down in corrections, and then from there, it's hopefully time for the bulls to run again, but we shall see. Hard to say.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it does sound like Ben was saying we are at kind of a decision point. It is hard to say for sure one way or the other exactly what's going to happen. And Blockchain Boy, this is something I want to hear from you on as far as like where exactly do you think the money is going to come from to fuel this next bull run up? Like if we're talking about a lot of the big money in the whales have been doing the accumulating, do you think it's going to be them that push that price back up, or will it be a resurgence of retail interest that kind of kicks back into that hyper hysteria that gets people really excited again that drives it?
So from my point of view, what I'm seeing is that this is a market that is heavily manipulated. 2017 was more of a retail investors run. I'm seeing a whole lot of whale activity. So realistically, they're going to move this price however they want to. At this point in time, I still see a lot of potential downside to Bitcoin if stocks crash in like the next 3 weeks. That would be a very bad thing for Bitcoin. We're seeing a lot of this inflation still being considered transitory or temporary inflation by a lot of the people in mainstream media and Wall Street. So this is not exactly the best thing for Bitcoin. So I'm being careful. I'm not buying right now. But if we can get above the 42 and hold, that's a very bullish sign to me. We had incredibly strong support at 30K over the weekend on Friday, and unreasonably strong price action throwing us back up, which was interesting for a weekend. So just keep in mind, it's very manipulated. I don't expect retail to run this market. They're going to be following the whales.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I would like to say, though, that I disagree with that, because I think what we saw is the lack of manipulation over the weekend. I think you actually saw what the retail investor actually thinks about Bitcoin over the weekend. The institutional money came in hard and heavy to push the price down to that $30,000 number. They wanted it below 28,000 on Friday, and they couldn't get it there. And so I think what you saw is these institutional investors, they're not really doing their work on the weekends. And what I've been told is a lot of the big money that was trying to push it down, they stopped over the weekend. And what we've been seeing ever since then is a slow rise. That actually matches the retail sentiment.
Yeah, the retail
We'll
sentiment
see.
is definitely strong. There's a lot of people, a lot of, actual, major fundamental developments happening right now that's fueling a lot of excitement. I would say Bitcoin is probably in the news and at the top of people's mind at the most it's ever been right now. So it's definitely the retail sentiment is strong, but watching what the institutions do, I do think this run is a lot more fueled by institutions in the sense that they're a much heavier player in this cycle than they were the last cycle. Last cycle was purely retail in 2017, but there was a couple of things you guys mentioned. There are a couple of key support levels or resistance levels to get over 40, 42K. I heard you guys both mention that. Obviously, everybody here, we all like it when the price goes up. We'd love it if the price went up forever and just goes up today, it goes up tomorrow, it goes up the next day. We smash right through 40K, we smash right through 42K. But Jeb, I know you're a lot heavier on the technical side. What does a healthy rise up look like to you? Like, obviously, we don't want to just go too far too fast. So what does it look like stair stepping up, or what does the chart need to look like to continue this on a sustained run?
Yeah, that's a great question, TJ, and I think that's exactly the question that we need to be asking right now. What do we see in the market that is sustainable and healthy and not going to blow off a top that we're going to have to come and pick up the pieces of later? That's what we saw happen earlier this year. We saw so much exuberance and so much, we'll say it, manipulation and institutional interest in the space. We rallied straight past all of our resistance levels. We broke 20,000 much easier than most of us analysts thought we would, and we went straight to 65,000 in the span of 4 months. That's not healthy, and you can't build a sustained bull market on 200 or 300% over the course of just a couple of months without seeing some kind of major fallout, and that's what we're in right now. And what I would love to see a bottom around $30,000 stay in effect. But unfortunately, looking at our trends and looking at our history, what you see happen at the end of a lot of bear markets and downtrends, I'm not calling this a bear market, I want to be clear on that, but what you see happen at the bottom of a lot of bear markets and secondary downtrends is you see a capitulation below what everybody thought was the final support level. In 2013's bull market and 2014's bear market, we saw $300 set as a level of support. They got set 3 times, and then we broke it and crashed down to a little under $200. I think it was 180. I wasn't in the market at the time, so I'm learning from history. And we rallied and we went into a bull market from there, but we had to have that capitulation event first. Then I remember this vividly because I was saying we were going to bounce and rally, and we didn't. We thought that $6,000 would be the bottom in 2018, and it wasn't. We crashed hard, and we pulled back 50% in the span of 30 days all the way down to 3,000, and then that was the bottom. So as much as I want $28,000 to be the bottom, I want to be hesitant to just go ahead and call it the bottom until we're sure, because at the end of the day, whether it drops or not, we have a great opportunity right now to make a lot of money by buying for the long run. Everybody knows that. As far as what's going to happen in the next couple of days, I am seeing right now a lot of bullishness that I haven't seen over the last couple of weeks. I haven't seen the kind of exuberance in the last 6 weeks that I've seen over this weekend, and that's a good sign. But we need to see that retail and institutional interest come together and lead to a large rally that is sustained, that breaks recent highs, such as $40,000, such as a Fibonacci level sitting around $37,000, such as many of the moving averages that Bitcoin is below right now, and the level at $36,500. We need to see Bitcoin break those and set higher highs and higher lows consistently for a time before we can be so confident that we're moving out of this accumulation phase. I want Bitcoin to rally just as much as everyone else, but we don't want to jump the gun. So here's what I have to say to everyone. Number one, whether Bitcoin goes up, down, sideways, backwards, it is a fantastic time to be buying Bitcoin for the long run, and I'm sure everybody here agrees with that. It's a fantastic project. But the second thing I want to say is that as we're moving through the next couple of weeks, maybe be a little bit hesitant. Right now, we're in confirmed sideways movement. You really want to wait for confirmation that we're going to go into a big rally before you get super excited that we're going to go into one. It's not to say we're not, but let's bide our time and not get in early, because a lot of people thought that we were going to pull back for just a month or so and we were going to bottom out around that $45,000 region, and we didn't. It was a bear trap, it was a bull trap, and everybody got liquidated, and people got liquidated and people lost money. I don't want people getting caught in a bull trap at the same time. I want to see a lot more interest coming into the space. I want to see more institutions, and I also want to see that fear and greed index start pumping up a little bit. It's saying it's a great time to buy, but I want to see it start rallying too before we put too much into it over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. No, you said a lot right there. Those are some really good points, and I think one of the key takeaways there is when all the indicators are pointing at one thing, even if that's the case, sometimes you have to expect it to do something else. Like, it seems too obvious to call 28.8 or whatever the bottom. So it's almost like a game show. Expect the unexpected. About the time you think you know it, yeah, about the time you think you have Bitcoin exactly figured out, it knows how to surprise you. So, but also moving on from this subject about being bullish in the short term onto these centralized things, we've already started talking about it a little bit. We've got Cathie Woods from ARK Invest. She's been hailed by a lot of people as a very forward-thinking traditional investor. She's very prominent in that space, has done very well with a lot of different tech companies, very tech-thinking, renewable energy, a lot of those sorts of things, and is almost being propped up as like a Michael Saylor-esque type hero for the fundamental traditional finance space coming into Bitcoin. So, Ben, I wanted to ask you this question here. Do you think Cathie, like we talk about institutions coming into Bitcoin in a negative light in a lot of ways. Do you think they've got good intentions, or that this is a positive thing, what Cathie Wood's trying to do? And do you think this ETF is actually going to get approved, or is it just like all the other ones? Is there anything different about this?
It's funny to me that she has like such a good rep, and we just say, oh, it's Cathie Wood, it must be great.
Right.
You know, like, guys, these are all the same people with the same money. You know, so look, I don't know her personally. I don't know her from Adam. Or from Annie. I don't know her from anybody. But all I know is when you've got big manipulative amounts of money, we've seen consistently that it's usually used at least somewhat in a negative way. You look at the Winklevoss twins, we look at them as people that are, you know, very powerful and are very good for crypto and do good things for crypto. They also file for an ETF, very similar to what she did. I think mostly they're a net positive in the space, but, you know, they're doing stuff behind the scenes too. They're investing in BlockCloud or BitCloud, whatever it was. Not everything that they touch is necessarily pure and a home run. We know they invested in Eternity. They looked at Eternity, which is a project we really like that's been crushed, but we still are very bullish on long term. But when it comes to ARK Invest specifically, it's a lot of, you know, traditional old school money, you know, coming into crypto. And so, no, I mean, ultimately, like, I don't think it's a great thing that they're filing for this ETF. We know when we do get an ETF approved at some point, it's going to be really bullish for a temporary amount of time. But we also thought it was really bullish when the futures contracts came in, and we saw what, you know, we saw what that did. So a lot of these places are going to be able to get new kinds of exposure to crypto. That doesn't mean it's a great thing for blockchain or Bitcoin or decentralization. It's a good thing for their pockets.
Yeah, well, and that's actually one thing I was going to ask. Did you have something you want to jump in with there, Blockchain Boy?
Yeah, so I think
ahead.
it's less about the actual ETF and more about the fact that old money is coming into the space, because we know that not everybody is sort of up to date on the times with crypto, and they're not about the whole Bitcoin movement. But if they see financial institutions hopping into crypto with an ETF in America, that opens up to, I would say, like the older generations, because I finally convinced my father to buy some crypto, got him into VeChain too, around last year. And, you know, that was cool. And he's been a traditional gold guy. But I feel like getting people like who are more used to traditional investments, exposure to crypto, they want to see the big money lead first. So if that happens, I'm more bullish on what happens if the ETF goes through long term for those people with the old money.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was actually a perfect question. I was going to ask if you thought that would be the best way to get the older generation exposure to it. And I do agree. There is a lot of like monkey see, monkey do when you go up the ladder of traditional investment. So they see somebody over here giving it the regulatory okay, giving it the approval, putting time, effort, money into something. They're just going to say like, okay, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. But that was something, though, I was going to ask Hashoshi. Ben said like, oh, we all know when this happens, it's going to be something that's super bullish. It's going to be a really bullish event. But you know, I was going to ask Hashoshi, like, do you think that's an automatic slam dunk? Do we really know that? Or do you think it could just be, you know, it comes out and it's kind of like the Coinbase IPO in the sense of like, yeah, it happens, but it doesn't, you know, it's a big news event and it's a big kind of historic progress for Bitcoin.
Coinbase IPO set the new all-time high.
Well, no, the all-time high was the day the Coinbase IPO, the day of the all-time high, and it went, so it didn't set the all-time high.
Well, no, maybe that was feeding into each other for sure, and that's what I like. I'm going to let Hashoshi answer, but that's kind of what I'm saying is that the day it's announced, there will be a pump. There was a giant pump the day of the Coinbase IPO leading up to that. I think whenever it does get approved, there will be a short-term pump, but you know, long-term, just like we saw with the Coinbase IPO, it's not that bullish in my opinion.
Well, that's what I was going to ask him. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that ultimately you look at a lot of this like over history, right? I mean, it's been years and years. It honestly, like, to me, I don't even care about an ETF anymore because it's been so long that people have been talking about it that it's like, oh, like when this happens, like it'll be mainstream. We've kind of proven that Bitcoin can be successful, crypto can be successful in the absence of an ETF. And there have been ETFs in other countries that are good, but not, game-changing, world-beating, Bitcoin can't survive without ETFs, or, old money, quote unquote, or traditional investors won't get into Bitcoin without an ETF. There are other avenues by which people will get in over time. So an ETF, I think, will be one of those things where if it does get approved, and look, I don't think ARK Invest pushing forth an ETF has any better chance of getting approved than any other ETF does. In fact, I actually think there's probably less of a chance that theirs gets approved. So in that regard, I feel like even if it did get approved, it would be like really happy a couple days. Everyone would be stoked. There'd be a big pump. Everyone would cheer. And then afterwards it'd be like, oh, well, that was a waste of 5 years that we spent talking about this. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree. It does seem like something that's been talked about and, a lot of different opinions this way or that way for a really long time, and it does feel like by the time it finally comes here, we'll all just be like, all right, great, now we can stop talking about the future Bitcoin ETF
Moving on.
and move on. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to move on to talking some DeFi, and we're going to move from the centralized old model to what Bitcoin's all about, decentralization, not relying on a centralized service or product to be able to make the transactions and get done what you need to get done. But we all know, I think all of us have taken part in different DeFi projects, and it's really cool when you see it work, kind of like we were talking about on the show yesterday with Crypto Face on there. Like, once you've gone into this new tech world in DeFi and in crypto and buying Bitcoin and do transactions over blockchain, and then you try to go back to the traditional system, it's so painful. It's so painfully slow, and it's such a better experience on using blockchain transactions. However, it's still also very new. The user experience, you still have to have some technical understanding for it. It's not exactly simple. So it's still got a ways to go when it comes to totally not needing the old system. So Blockchain Boy, I wanted to hear from you a little bit on this, on how long do you think it's going to take before DeFi is truly user ready and simple for everyday people to use without needing an extensive background in understanding crypto and how to do transactions?
Well, I tried explaining a smart contract to my mom, who has been in crypto for as long as I have, basically, and she still did not understand it. She just thought it was funny. Now, DeFi is a long ways away from being. I love my mom, but it was just funny. Yeah. DeFi is a long ways away from being ready for the average person, right? Now, I think one of the ways that we get the average person into DeFi is by telling them about the insane returns on stable coins, because that might be the easiest way to get them in there. Just get their foot in the door, earn more from a bank. But yeah, I think DeFi is at least 5 years away from being ready. I mean, even I think people rushed into crypto while it's still not ready for mainstream use, thus all the speculation. I mean, why is Cardano worth $40 billion when it does nothing? It's speculation, right? Love Cardano, don't come at me. But it's a speculatory market,
you
right?
You don't need another community coming
You're going to get another community after you.
Yeah, we are at least 5-10 years away before DeFi is like a word that, somebody you'll run into in public just knows or understands, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, well, and so on that note, regarding taking some time to get there, and you mentioned the stable coins rewards, that's something I agree, that is the easiest way probably to get. Even a lot of people that are traditional investors, they've had, they're used to stock market returns and mutual funds, things like that. They get 8%. They get really excited about hearing 10% on my dollars or 12% on my USDC stablecoin. That's amazing. I'd love to put money over there, park it, and make that money. At least at that point, you're outpacing inflation. So that's something we use. We use the Celsius app. We've got some money parked over there, and it is interesting to me that that's what gets people that aren't as familiar with Bitcoin and crypto excited about it. So.
Yeah, forget the pancake swap 120% APY, right? Just give them the stable coins. Feed them a little bit at a time. Yes. They're not ready for the whole thing. Give them the stable coins. Let them experience it for themselves. Then when they're ready to go, yield farm their portfolios to death, let them do that. But we're not trying to get them, completely
we want them to stay.
Iron finance kind of thing.
Yeah, we want them to be here for longer than
we don't want them to leave.
6 months.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but some people really love to get in there and get their hands dirty. We saw that with Mark Cuban just a couple weeks ago with playing with some of these other projects. Like people, once you start going down that rabbit hole, they go down fast. You know, and they want to. They don't ever want to stop. I mean, we covered an article this morning that's part of what we were going to talk about. This top 5 DeFi projects. They were looking at Aave, Synthetics, Maker, Compound, Sushi Swap, Uniswap, and some of those. Ben, we were kind of talking about when you're talking about DeFi projects, those are the blue chip ones. Those are the blue chip DeFi projects. And almost instinctually, everybody here in the office, their next question is like, okay, well, what about the ones that haven't pumped yet? Like, what's below those? What's next? So for the people that really, truly want to degen out, do you recommend just getting in the big ones and sticking with those? Or do you have any tips for people to get when they're getting involved, like where to look, what projects to go after, and, you know, how to maybe avoid rug pulls?
Yeah, I think that it depends on where you're at in your crypto journey. And, you know, we've been wherever you're at in your crypto journey, we've been there. You know, we've been starting with nothing.
Yeah.
We've had a lot. We've lost it all. We've had way more. We've lost some of that. And hopefully we're getting more, you know. And I think that all depends, because if you have millions of dollars in crypto or several hundreds of $1,000s in crypto, you're probably better suited just sticking in the bigger projects. You're going to make money over time. You're going to be able to convert that over to Ethereum or Bitcoin down the road and get, you know, more of that, which is kind of the name of the game right now, or more Cardano or whatever, you know, coin you're trying to accumulate. And, you know, the more money you have, the more money in Bitcoin you should have, you know, as well. I think that's a good solid thing. But if you have $2,000 in crypto, especially right now, halfway through a bull run, where we think halfway through a bull run, you know, you're going to get the most bang for your buck looking at the smaller coin. And I don't mean smaller like coin 7,422, you know. I always think it's funny when I make these random numbers up. I wonder like who's going and looking at CoinMarketCap and figuring out what the 7,422nd coin is, because there's some degen out there that's trying to do it.
Because you know it's the next moon coin.
Yeah.
The next moon coin. We want moon, right? We want moon. So if you are in this place where you're trying to get a massive impact on your investment in the short term before the end of this bull run, you're going to be better off looking. I think the 100 to 200 coins have so many great gems in there. And if I were to go to CoinMarketCap right now and just look at the DeFi section here and start looking at what they have listed as some of their top. I mean, Phantom right now is coming in at number 94. Anchor is at 100. Let's see. Ren is at 112. These are all DeFi projects. Kava at 125. iExec RLC at 135. Band Protocol at 142. That's also an Oracle project, which does well in bear markets. Injective Protocol at 149. Serum at 164. Numeraire at 170. I can't believe it's dropped that low. OneChain, a partner of ours, 190. You really look at that 100 to 200 range and start digging in on DeFi, and you will find some really good gems that, you know, probably have more bang for their buck in the shorter term. But the thing is, you know, really, and I was talking with somebody about this today in real life, like, you make if you want to go from having $2,000 to $100,000 or having $1 million, which is possible in crypto, that's why we love it. Mm-hmm. The bear market is really when you got to be looking at, you know, when the fear is the worst in the bear market, that's when you should be looking for, you know, those life-changing financial opportunities.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's very true. You do get the most, like you said, a time to accumulate bang for your buck. It's almost easier to pick out the best projects there and then too, because you can look at projects that are really building and sticking around, and you don't have as much noise and chaos as when you're peaking out the top of the bull market. So that was a lot of really good advice. Go ahead.
I tell everybody, like, just the example I use for everybody is just look at Cardano. How long did it sit at 1 and 2 cents? Mm-hmm. Like, that's very easy to quantify. Yes, it's very easy to quantify when you look at it dipped all the way down to 1 cent and it was at 2 cents. And then you look at where it is today, I don't know, $1.40, $1.50, whatever it's at today. Like, it's really easy to understand those returns with something that got all the way down to a penny. And, you know, you had $1,000, you put it in when Cardano was a penny, now you got $140,000. So
there you go. Well, and speaking of Cardano, we looked at a lot over last summer with the Ethereum DeFi projects. A lot of the stuff you mentioned there just now is based on Ethereum. We do expect to see a resurgence of Ethereum-based DeFi in the next month or so. But we were talking about on the live stream today, we think this summer we're really going to start to see Cardano and Cardano ecosystems popping off over the next month or so this summer, with DeFi and Cardano being part of that. So Hashoshi, I know that's the ecosystem you're very familiar with. We were talking a little bit before the show, so I wanted to hear from you. What do you think? What is your favorite DeFi project on Cardano that you like?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even say what my favorite is because it's so early in terms of, no one's got their code out there yet. But in terms of teams that I think are in the space and really pushing and going to be out there day one on public testnet, you look at projects like Sunday Swap and Liquid Finance, both have solid teams. Both are working on, a handful of different things. I think there's actually a lot behind the scenes too that's going on that they're probably working on that they haven't put out there yet because they're not in testnet yet. So when testnet comes, people are going to get to play with it. We'll get to see, how DeFi expands. There's just a lot unknown about Cardano's whole execution environment right now and what projects are going to come after this first wave of DeFi projects is really where some of the big exciting things come. So kind of like you saw in the Ethereum space where you had, the beginnings of DeFi, you had these like DEXs and other things, and then all of a sudden you've got Aave coming in with flash loans and all this crazy stuff that looking back now, we're like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's obvious that that would be the case, but they changed the game there. And then a bunch of other projects came and yield farming and all sorts of other things that, 2 years ago were like, that would never happen. So I think the biggest thing with DeFi right now is we're in this space where it's gone from a concept to more mature products, more mature projects. They're somewhat limited by the protocols themselves, the throughput, the cost on Ethereum, for example, congestion, things like that, language, like programming level limitations. But you're now starting to see the shift in those layer one blockchains, giving you more throughput, giving you more capacity for DeFi projects to actually thrive. And then finally, you're going to have the user experience part that needs to come, where it's going to be easy for people to engage in DeFi on one protocol and then interoperably move from that protocol to another. So Polkadot, Cosmos, Kusama to an extent, these are all going to be really critical to the future of DeFi. Like interoperability is the bastion of hope for DeFi long-term, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you nailed it there. It is a long-term play, and interoperability will be a big part of that. You mentioned some really good projects there. Ben also mentioned some really good deep picks there, so I hope you guys are taking notes. And on that, Blockchain Boy, for the true degen out there who's writing all this stuff down, they're getting into every new DeFi project they can find. They don't want the blue chips. They want the ones that are just launching. I know you do a lot with Binance Smart Chain and just a lot of different projects you're playing with, I'm sure, in your Discord, talking about a lot of different stuff. Do you have any advice for somebody who's maybe new to this? I know we use Dex tools here a lot. Any tools that you use or, indicators to look for it, like when you're getting into these new projects, like these are the key things you look at to either avoid a pure rug pull scam or something you look at that, like, when you think something might have potential?
I'm being very careful with what I'm putting in right now with new projects. As some of you know, I do have my own launchpad coming out, iPad, Infinity Pad on the Binance Smart Chain, so that's exciting. No copyright. It's a ticker. You can't copyright that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so it's powered by DAO Maker. So we're going to have some cool projects coming out. I'm very selective with what projects I do get into because the Binance Smart Chain is just, it's riddled with rug pulls and scams. I don't mess with charity coins, no meme coins. I think they're kind of the bane of crypto in some ways. I mean, at least Dogecoin got some people into it. Right now, I'm not touching a lot of new projects, so I'm gonna say no. I'm messing with large cap DeFi coins, Chainlink, Yearn Finance, a little bit of Pancake Swap. I'm doing some Pancake Swap staking. Cake staking still very profitable. Buying cake while it's low, staking it, selling it while it's high. If it returns to its all-time high, I'll have made like $5,000 in the first month from staking my cake. That's pretty good. So there are some projects. One of the projects I recently am looking at is actually sort of a Yearn Finance competitor called Formation Fi, yield aggregator. So that's pretty cool. But those are the ones I'm kind of looking at right now.
Yeah, no. That's
Blockchain Boy? Could you name like 10 to 20 projects with like really strong communities that you hate?
No, he's no, he's just
well, I was just banned.
No, don't do it. It's
so
a trap. That's a trap, Blockchain Boy.
I think I will pass on your question. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's an inside joke for the audience at home. And we love Blockchain Boy. He has very strong opinions, and he always speaks his mind. He's very honest, and that's what you'll always get on the show is honest opinions and honest takes. So that's one of our favorite things about him. And he's getting a little heat from some of the XRP army out there, which I know how that goes. I've been there before.
XRP army, chill out on my boy.
Chill out,
just
guys.
Chill out on him. Everybody doesn't
Thanks,
have to
brother.
love your
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
y'all chill out on Blockchain Boy. We love Blockchain Boy. He's good. He's a good person, good for the space. He doesn't like XRP. It's okay. It's
okay.
not the end of the world.
There's
a lot of us that are heavily invested in it and make money. So
there you go. Well, we're almost running out of time, but I want to ask Jeb one more question here. We talked a lot about centralized finance. Now we're talking about DeFi. We know it's going to take some time before DeFi ever, really hits its mainstream adoption and really gets full use of all these products. But in your opinion, long-term, zooming out, how long before DeFi passes or flippins Wall Street?
Oh boy, flippins Wall Street. That's going to be a big one. You guys got to realize Wall Street is a $30 trillion street. It's probably the most valuable street in the world. I mean, if you paved it with gold, it would be a downgrade. There is so much money on Wall Street that getting to there is like the coup de grace. It's going to be difficult. But to your point, as far as DeFi, look, guys, DeFi is a very much revolutionary technology that is going to change the way that we do banking. It's going to change the way we do contracts, lending, banking, all of this stuff. It's a major challenge to the way finances are done right now. But I'd like to remind everyone that the internet was founded in 1969. We're in 2021, and the internet is still technically experimental. We have to get this out of our mind that DeFi is ever going to make it. In the same way that we as entrepreneurs or we as traders and investors, we never technically make it. I mean, if you start worrying about when you're going to make it, then you will be trying to make it until you make it on into the next life. There's no such thing as making it. So as far as when does DeFi become mainstream, first of all, define mainstream. I think what we mean by that is when is it a serious contender towards the traditional banking system, and when is it a serious contender that people are talking about all around the world? There's a lot of money in it, right? That's kind of what we're talking about. I think that we need to realize just how early on we are here. And while everyone was talking, I think that everyone made great points, and I can't really top any of those. But the word that was floating around in my head was perspective, because I think a lot of people are thinking, oh man, I missed the boat. I missed the boat on Cardano, or I missed the boat on Ethereum. I missed the boat on these smaller projects like Aave or Yearn or anything. Oh no, I missed the boat. Let me go and find the smaller project. I warn people about that because, the funny thing is, you see piracy happening the most in the underdeveloped nations of the world throughout history. When America was very young, we saw a lot of piracy, right? When a nation tends to be very young, it tends to have a lot of piracy. Right now, we have a lot of piracy going on in the DeFi space, in the cryptocurrency space. We have a lot of rug pulls. We have a lot of scams. And that is a sign of very much underdeveloped space. The reason I say that is because if we start looking at $10 billion projects as being too large to invest in, then the only thing smaller than that are probably a bunch of scams. Now, there are great projects, and I don't want you guys to miss out on that. I'm not making a blanket statement. I'm not the king of DeFi. I fully admit that. I'm not the major altcoin guy in the room here. But I want people to remember that perspective, because just because it's rallied 1,000% over the last 2 years doesn't mean that's not going to go a lot farther. We're only 2 years into this. As to your question, I think that like Blockchain Boy was saying, we need to see a lot more development before this is mainstream. I think it is absolutely incredible that we've seen this much development in the first place. The main thing I want people to remember here is don't lose perspective and think just because this altcoin is so much more valuable than this altcoin, don't forget that they're both worth nothing compared to what some of them will be worth in the distant future. Because if you miss out on that, then you're potentially going to miss out on some great investments because you tried to get great and you skipped out on good. Cardano might be worth $40 billion. And yes, it is absolutely still speculative because not a lot is actually going on Cardano yet. But it is still a fantastic project and we're still very early. That's the main thing I want people to remember is just that perspective.
Yeah, that's great. Key perspective, and kind of like as Ben said, no matter where you are on your crypto journey, we've been there. You made a really good point. A lot of people right now feeling like they might have missed the boat. Things have pumped too much. They're too late for Bitcoin. They're too late for Ethereum. A lot of people feel like
they've always
too late.
Felt that way.
Yeah, too late for anything in the top 20, top 100. So, but just know we've all felt that way before too. Everybody that's ever comes on that show, they felt that way in 2012. They felt it in 2013, 2016, 2017, 2020, 2021. So we've all felt those feelings times of like, oh my gosh, if I don't make drastic changes and go all in right now, I'm going to miss the boat. And there's still plenty of time. Like Jeb said, we're still early. We're still discovering all the capabilities with the internet, and blockchain is going to be an industry like that grows and evolves and develops and continues to grow and evolve and develop over time. So there's plenty of time to get involved, which is why every time on the show we're always preaching just learn, educate yourself, and this is why we do it ourselves. Play with these products, get your hands dirty, learn what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like, and form your own opinion. So that's all we have time for today. It looks like we've got Ben with the top score today as the show's winner. So you've got 30 seconds there. Leave the audience with a parting message. Oh, and also real quick, I forgot to mention, if you guys could smash the likes, that helps us out a ton. We got about 6,000 people in here now, so please smash the likes. But Ben, take it away. Sorry, I stole your confetti. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think that the Bulls are back in town. You know, the Bulls are back in town. I got my confetti. I'm happy. I won my own show. You know, we are playing Bullfighter out here. As you guys can see there on the screen. You guys know when we get an image or a video, we like to show it and we like to play it. But yeah, I just want to piggyback on TJ.
Okay.
That's it. I just want to piggyback on TJ.
All right. Well,
no,
I can come
I
over
want
and
to
give you a
piggyback on what TJ said is what I meant to say there, which is wherever you're at, we've been there. And it's so true. Like, guys, imagine buying Bitcoin at $12 because that's what I did. And then I sold it all the next year. Mm-hmm. Imagine thinking right now that $36,000 might be a good buy for Bitcoin when you bought it at $12. In 2017, the reason I went all in on crypto and all in on crypto as a career is because of that pain and regret that I felt on the inside of my soul, knowing that I could have been worth 8 figures based on how much money I spent on crypto or in Bitcoin in 2012, and I didn't do that. And so, you know, I was taking a big risk and a big gamble in 2017, and it has paid off tremendously. And so I just want to encourage everybody, you haven't missed out. There's still time for you to get in. The internet is the internet. It's still an emerging industry. Blockchain is new internet. You guys get used to it. It's only going to develop. Get used to it. It's only going to develop much more over the years, and you still got plenty of time to invest, to get involved, and to believe, because this is the new movement. Let's get it.
I love that. Blockchain is the new internet. Get on board or get left behind. You got plenty of time, but that's all we have time for today. We're out.